Hello, everybody. I welcome you today to Taxes and Benefits Filing Your Own Taxes. Going to give everybody about 1 more minute and then we will go ahead and get started as other people file in. Okay, we will go ahead and get started today. Thank you everybody for joining us here for our last taxes and benefits webinar. This subject today is filing your own taxes, which we're so excited to hear a little bit about, as the deadline is, I believe it's Monday, is June 1st. So I think this one is so fitting and we're quite excited to get started. Before we do, I do want to say that in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, being the Siksika, Kainai, and Piikani nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina and Stoney Nakoda Nation and Métis Region 3, and all of the other people as well that live here and make their homes on Treaty 7 land in southern Alberta. We just want to honor and give thanks to them and enjoy living in this land with them. Go ahead, Darlene. So here at Momentum, we do work with low-income Calgarians. We work with, low-income Calgarians. We partner with lots of people in the community to create a thriving local economy, and that is really, I think, a wonderful goal, especially in this time with the economy. We have no idea what it looks like, but we just really strive to work together with low-income Calgarians and other community partners to just help that economy thrive. And I'm looking forward to rebuilding it as we get started coming out of this, hopefully, COVID-19. I wanted to tell you guys about a couple of our helplines. So we have, the first one is our money management helpline. And with this helpline, you're able to go ahead and give us a call or email that email address at the bottom and get some assistance with money management tools, any government or community resource navigation, and of course, any financial coaching that you might need assistance with. We also have our business helpline and coaching. So with this one, we have some professional coaches that are able to help you with your business. If you need any assistance, understanding, or navigating, or just starting up, getting some questions answers regarding your business, please feel free to give us a call or email us at the email address on the screen. Of course,
Jody, we can't see the numbers on the screen right now.
You can't see the slideshow, Laurel?
I can see them.
Okay,
My
apologies.
Okay, so there's also the employment helpline and coaching. And with that one, you are able to get some assistance with resume and cover letter support if you need any interview preparation or one-on-one job coaching. Please feel free to give us a call or go to that email that you see there below. Momentum, of course, has closed all of their in-person programming for right now, but we are working very hard to get it up and running online, and we're super excited about that. But in the meantime, please feel free to reach out should you have any questions for any of these helplines. If you missed the number or the email for any of them, you can always go to momentum.org, and the coach lines are open from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Just a quick little bit of housekeeping. We're going to look at about a 20-minute presentation today. We do have a question and answer period. We like to try and do them afterwards because sometimes people have the same question and then you'll know. And as well, our presenters are wonderful at answering all the questions, and sometimes they answer them before you even get the chance to ask. So please feel free to use the question and answer period or feature if you have any questions. The reason we like the question and answer feature versus the chat is because questions often get lost in the chat. So please use the Q&A should you have any questions. I also wanted to let everybody know this is being recorded. So should you want to watch it again, it will be listed on the momentum.org site, or you can even go to our YouTube page. I would like to welcome both Darlene and Laurel from Sunrise Community Link, and I'm going to hand it over to you ladies. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jody. And just so you know, I did hand control back to you because for whatever reason.
Okay, Darlene seems to have frozen. Hopefully she unfreezes.
That are out there, some that are free, some that are not. We're going to talk about some major mistakes and pitfalls. If you decide that you want to have somebody else do your taxes, we will give you a list of agencies across the city of Calgary that can assist you. And then in the end, we're going to do a poll. All right, go ahead, Jody. Okay, so my name is Darlene Doscott. I am the Financial Empowerment Programming Manager with Sunrise Community Link. I started in February. Currently, we are very busy with taxes. Laurel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Laurel Williamson, and I've been with Sunrise Link for about 1.5 years now, I believe. And I've been dealing with small businesses and taxes for well over 10 years. So happy to be on the call, and thanks to Momentum for hosting us.
On the bottom of the screen, you will see a link to our website. Please feel free to go and look at the different programs that we offer. Again, like I said, we are currently doing taxes and benefits, but we also have some savings programs and some RESP programs and other things that you might find beneficial for you in the upcoming times. Okay, go ahead, Jody. Okay, we have partnered with Aspire Calgary, and last year in 2018, we had 572 volunteers across Calgary assisting with filing taxes. And we were able to file approximately 8,800 taxes last year. Go ahead. So here's the big question. Who should file their own taxes? So number one, you are a numbers kind of person. You like looking at receipts. You're comfortable with the information on the receipts. You know how the GST is broken down, and you're good at math. The second one is your tax situation is simple or unchanged. So you have one job, no dependents. You have the same income every year. It might change a little bit. You might have two jobs and end up with 2 T4s, but really there's not a lot of change happening in your day-to-day income. Go ahead. The other one is it's okay if you don't own any property or investments, and maybe I'll let Laurel ping on that a little bit more in the next slide. But because property investments can be very, very complicated. Go ahead. You can understand tax laws. So tax laws can change every year. So keeping up on what the laws look like from year to year would be beneficial to you if you want to do your own taxes. Okay, go ahead. Doing your own taxes, if you're self-employed, making under $1,000 a year and with no expenses. That's not complicated to do something like that. However, go ahead to the next one. Yeah. So the benefits to doing your own taxes is, and Laurel, you can add to this if you'd like, save money. When you're doing some, it might cost you as little as $35, or in some cases the programs are free, and we'll talk about that later on. You save time, so you're not having to wait for an appointment from a tax filer. And right now, many of the tax filers have wait lists. So doing them on your own can certainly save you a amount of time. And you know your own story. So you already know in your head what expenses and what receipts and what your T4s and what your employment look like for the year. So if you have all of that information and you're comfortable, then doing your own taxes might work for you. Go ahead.
And I think one we didn't touch on there is just having a better understanding of what's actually happening with your taxes then. That walking yourself through the tax software, it's going to ask you some questions, and so you might have a different learning by the time you finished it than you did from before you began.
Yeah. So the question is, who shouldn't file their own taxes? So if you're filing a tax return for multiple years, our suggestion would be that you have assistance to do that. Not everybody is really good with money. And especially when you're filing for multiple years, you want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, that you're claiming everything correctly, because if you don't, it could cause you a lot of headaches, and you could end up making yourself lose out on a lot of money that you could get in returns. Go ahead.
A really good example of that, Darlene, is when you talked about the changing tax laws. I still have people bringing in their child's fitness activities and trying to claim those, but it's been a few years now that those have not been eligible. So when you're doing multiple years, I think it would be, if you're not used to it, it would be easy to mix up some of the timelines when these different changes have come into play.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Thank you, Laurel. The other one is, let's just stay on number 2 there. Your tax situation changes each year. So let's say 1 year you're on EI, another year you're employed, another year you had to go on Alberta Works. Each of those different sources of income have different rules associated with them. So you might miss deductions. You might not apply for the appropriate benefits. And having multiple sections for income can be very confusing on where and what to put in and what to claim. Laurel, do you have anything you want to add to that particular point? No? Okay.
Nope.
Next one, please. If you have investments or property or interest, this includes like property in a foreign country, investments that you've made. If you have anything like that, it's always good to at least get some advice if you don't have the information yourself on how to claim that. But again, if you have that, it can be quite complicated in doing your taxes. Go ahead. So filing status, if you've gotten married or divorced, if you had children, if you're a widow or widower, those things can certainly directly impact your taxes. So it's best to keep that in mind. Go ahead. And if you're self-employed with expenses, this can be really tricky, and Laurel has some good stories that she's been telling me the last little while. When you're self-employed and you have expenses, you have to be really careful on what it is that you're claiming, what it is you're writing off, the percentages you're writing off. So if you're not familiar with those tax laws and you're not familiar with that self-employment piece, it's really, really important that you probably get help in doing your taxes. And Laurel, do you want to add anything to that one or any of the ones up on the screen?
No, I just think that there's a point where, you know, most people who are doing this are doing it to save money. But if you're self-employed and you're doing it on your own, it's possible that you're actually leaving money on the table by not being aware of what you can write off. Or if you write off too much, then it can be a flag to the government, and you can end up owing and having that flagged and then paying penalties and interest. So I think you've hit the nail right on the head there, Darlene.
And you were just telling me earlier about a story of a client who had done their own taxes, but then, if I remember your story correctly, they came to you for assistance. And when they came to you, they were owing money. And when they left,
they contacted me 2 days ago and just wanted me to review the taxes. When I got my hands on it, they went from owing $400 to actually getting an $800 refund, and that's simply just not understanding the forms. And they weren't even self-employed. It was just a person who had been doing their own taxes, and there were some changes this year, and it made a $1,200 difference to them, which right now, I mean, I think most of us would welcome a $1,200 positive versus owing the government. So it's important to understand when you're doing it right. And if you have that feeling of, oh, this might not be going well, don't be afraid to reach out. It doesn't mean that you can't be the one doing it. It just means that you need a little bit of assistance to learn how to finish it.
Okay, thanks, Laurel. Next. So what are the benefits to having someone do your taxes? Well, there's a few. You have somebody who is familiar with or knows how to look up any tax law changes. If there's a mistake made, or if they make a mistake, they know exactly what documents to use. But the reality is most of the time you will miss making those mistakes. You get some advice on what to do and how to do your taxes. You get that help and the guidance. And as Laurel was talking about earlier, you guys know where the tax deductions are. So you're able to assist clients in possibly getting more income or refund back than they would have originally. Okay, go ahead. So let's talk a little bit about the different types of programs out there. So what programs work well if I have not done my taxes before? So there's two things. I'm sure you've heard NetFile and eFile popped around. It's kind of like the word that's out there for taxes. So I'm just going to explain to you what the difference is. So NetFile is something that you can do on your own. An eFile is something that is done by a taxpayer. So the NetFile is an online transmission that's provided by the CRA. It uses CRA approved software such as TurboTax, and it's secure. So that's something that you would do on your own if you were net filing your own taxes. An e-file, you have a tax preparer such as Laurel who would do the taxes for you, and they would e-file your taxes. So down, you'll see on the bottom, there's a really neat website that I found that has a lot of interesting information, especially around this, and it's savvynewcanadians.com. So I encourage you to go have a look if you would like some more information finding out about the NetFile and eFile, and then also all the programs that we're going to talk about as well. And Laurel, is there anything that you want to add before I move off on there?
No, I'm not sure if we're going to cover it later on, but while you're working on your taxes, and 2020 is not a good example of this, but you can call the government. One of the government's mandates is to help educate Canadians. It's not just to enforce compliance. So the phone number is 1-800-959-8281. And normally, if it's not tax season and we're not in a pandemic, you can get a hold of them, and your agents will be very helpful to help answering some of the questions that you stumble upon as you're working your way through those taxes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Judy. So when you're net filing, so when you're doing your taxes on your own, NetFile does have some restrictions. If you are filing a tax return for a taxation year before 2016, NetFile will not work for you. NetFile will only do the past 4 years. So they will do 2019 all the way to 2016, but it will not electronically file a tax return for 2015. And as we were talking about earlier, if you do have multiple tax years, our suggestion would be that you have assistance in filing those years. If you're a non-resident of Canada or your address is outside of Canada, NetFile won't work. If you became bankrupt within the last 2 years, NetFile won't work for you. If you are filing a return for a deceased person, NetFile will not work. And if you need to change your name, if you need to amend a return, or if your social insurance begins with 08 or 09, you won't be able to use NetFile. And if you need more information on that, you can go to the CRA website that I've listed below, and that will give you more information on that. Go ahead. So one of the neat things that the Canada Revenue Agency offers, it's called CRA File My Return Service. So in order to access this, you would have received a letter from CRA, and they will send that to you in the mail and invite you to file your taxes online using them as the service. So it's free, it's a telephone service, it's for lower fixed income. You'll be asked for some information just to make sure that you can identify yourself properly so they know they're talking to the person that they should be talking to. There's no paper forms, no calculation. You give CRA the information and they file it automatically for you. So I have talked to a couple of people that have been able to do that. They love it because it's really, really easy. The drawback to this service is it's by invitation only. So again, if you want more information or you think maybe that you would qualify for the CRA File My Return service, there is the number listed below. It's the same number that Laurel mentioned earlier. And you can go to their website to find out some more information about this service. And I really would, especially with the pandemic affecting our low-income clients the way that it is this year, this would have been a really, really good service to be able to use. So I would encourage you next year, if you're getting a letter from CRA, open it up and see if they are offering you this invitation. And if it is, it's a really super easy way to get your taxes done. Go ahead. Do you have anything you want to add, Laurel? Are you good? No? Okay. Go ahead, Jody. So I have the top 4 tax programs that you might be interested in, and most all of them are free, and then they do have the option to purchase, which gives you a few more guiding systems, really is what it comes down to. So TurboTax is the number 1. So these are all in order. TurboTax was the number 1 recommended. It is CRA approved, it's NetFile certified. You can do up to 20 returns per year. So if you're one of those people who really, really like to do taxes, you're good with numbers, and you're up on your tax laws, TurboTax would be a really good one to use. It also has an autofill my return option, which is you can put in your social insurance number. You have to have a MyCRA account. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Laurel. Do you have to have a MyCRA account to autofill? Okay.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay, so you have to be up on your taxes currently to use an autofill, and you have to have a MyCRA account. Now, for me personally, when I did my taxes, I used the autofill and I was done just like that because my CRA account was up to date, and I just put in the information that was required, and it automatically filled out my taxes for me. I really didn't have to do anything. So there is a standard version, which is costs you money, and then a premium version, which costs you a little bit more. So the free version does not come with a guidance system. You have to be able to really navigate the TurboTax system yourself. The standard and premium versions cost money, but they also come with a guidance system. So that will be something, and each section you go to is kind of a how-to little person that sits there and helps you do the taxes. And it asks those questions that somebody who would be filing your taxes for you would ask. The pluses on it, you can use it on your smartphone. Maximum refund is guaranteed, 100% accuracy. You get instant notice of assessment. They offer a refile, so if you do make a mistake on your taxes, you can use the refile system, and it will automatically adjust your return. It's encrypted, and the average cost for a standard version is around $20, and I put the average in the around because prices change, so I didn't want to direct quote you a cost on that, but the average cost is $20. Do you have anything you want to add, Laurel, about TurboTax?
Yeah, just a small add-on to the autofill. If you autofill twice, the software will not overwrite the information you did the first time. So you want to be careful to only use that once during your filing. If you save it and you go back into it later, don't redo that step because the software doesn't recognize what's already in there. And sometimes it's technology, so do make sure that you're double checking and doing a visual on everything that it downloaded. A couple of times this year we've had things duplicate one form out of everything we've done. So the autofill is great. It's a time saver, but it is technology. And at the end of the day, you are the one that is ultimately responsible. So make sure you're just taking your time and double checking to make sure that technology did it right.
Okay, next, Judy. So number 2 on their list was Simple Tax. So this is a Canadian software. It offers a pay what you want option. So if you don't have any money to purchase it, you can still use it for free and at a $0 cost. But then the recommended payments are the $9, $19, $34, and $49. It offers only one main product. So unlike TurboTax, it doesn't have 3 different options. It's just one option. It's easy to use. It does have a step-by-step guidance and guarantees 100% accuracy. You get free support. You get a maximum refund. It's secure. It is CRA certified. It also has the My autofill return. And again, you can use it up to 20 times per account. Go ahead. Number 3 on the list is the U-File. So this is one that I use personally to do my taxes. So it's free if you are filling a simple tax return. So we were talking early, and a simple tax return basically is your income does not change from year to year. You do not have any property, own any property or have any investments. You're not self-employed. You don't have any of those complex pieces that makes a tax filing more complicated. It's free to students regardless of their income. A newcomer to Canada, or it's free if you're a newcomer to Canada and are filling out your tax return for the first time, and it's free to a low-income taxpayer with a total family income that is less than $20,000. So there's a piece there. So students, it doesn't matter what your income is, but if you're a single person, your income really needs to be below that $20,000 mark. The benefits of this is you can do it directly online. It does have refile, guaranteed accuracy, it's secure, it's NetFile certified, and you can pay a U-File tax service that starts around $20. Go ahead. And then the last one is Studio Tax. So this is, again, it's free. You can use it on Windows or a Mac, and that is the difference. U-File you cannot use on a Mac, but Studio Tax you can. It has the autofill my return, 100% free, but again, with this tax program, you can make a contribution if you'd like to support them. It's NetFile certified, and it allows for those simple and complex returns. You can do up to 20 a year. There's no income restrictions, and the one drawback to this one is it's not available on smartphones or tablets, so you would have to have a computer to use it. Okay, go ahead. So, and I know Laurel's going to help me with this one. So some major mistakes and pitfalls. So as we talked about earlier, let's just kind of go over those again. Some major mistakes or pitfalls when you're doing your own taxes are you're unaware of the tax laws. You don't understand how your property and your investments are taxed. Not really sure how tuition or medical expenses come into play when you're doing your taxes. Laurel, do you have some other pitfalls and mistakes? And then let's talk a little bit about, you deducted what on your income tax?
So I think the big one that's sort of scary right now, and you've kind of touched on it a few times, is it's okay to own property. I would even go as far to say if you own your house, you can still possibly do your own taxes. When it becomes a problem is the year you sell your house. This is a new law that the Liberal government brought in. You have to declare it, and the fine for not declaring selling your home, your principal home, is up to $8,000. Now, the crazy part about this is there's no tax implications for selling your own principal home. So if you've lived in this home for 40 years and you sell it and you buy a smaller house, and you declare it on your taxes, it will not make $1 worth of difference. But if you fail to disclose it, then you could be facing up to an $8,000 fine. So that's a big one for me that maybe every Canadian they're not aware of. And a lot of people think it's not worthwhile to keep the medical receipts. Like, oh, you have to, you have to have about 3% of your income has to be what you are spending on medical. But the crazy part is, like when January 2020 started, none of us knew how many prescriptions we were going to have, or if we have to go to physio or a chiropractor. So I think one of the things a lot of people do is they just fail to keep those medical receipts, because at the end of the year, it's not just yours, it's your whole family's medical receipts. And sometimes they are surprising where they just add up over the years. So I think that that's maybe something we can all sort of make a goal of, is to start to collect those medical receipts.
Go ahead, Judy. So, Laurel, what if I made a mistake on my taxes? Because for me, I like to do things right the first time. So if I make a mistake, what am I going to do? Because my response would be to panic.
Well, don't panic. Let's the first thing I think would absolutely to be just take a deep breath. Out of all of the softwares that you highlighted, Darlene, I've used 3 out of 4 of them, and I don't know if this is okay, but I'm going to say if you're starting out for the first time, that TurboTax Standard Edition is going to help you avoid mistakes. I know it's a bigger investment, but having that little AI, the artificial intelligent person asking you meaningful questions, that is going to help avoid the mistakes. Even in Studio Tax, if you tried to fill out, there's still a box that says how much children's fitness can you write off. If you fill it in, the box is going to have a little pop-up saying, hey, you're no longer allowed to claim fitness for children. And so I think the first thing we need to do is really read those pop-ups, because the software is set up to have you successful.
Mm-hmm.
But you file your taxes, you go to bed, you wake up the next morning, and you realize you forgot to add in, let's say, social assistance benefits or your EI.
Mm-hmm.
You can absolutely go into your software, you can add it in, and then find the refile button. And Darlene sort of talked about the different ones having this. It will then refile it to CRA on your behalf. But if you didn't wake up the next morning and for some reason you got EI in January of 2019, and by the time April hits and there's a pandemic going on, you've totally misplaced the slip and you've forgotten about it, CRA is actually going to recalculate your benefits, and they're going to send you a piece of paper called the Notice of Assessment, or it's often referred to as an NOA. And that NOA is going to say, hey, we've made some adjustments, and here's what we made, here's the adjustments we made, and here's all the differences it made, and you either owe money or you're getting a larger refund. The next year, but it's never an issue to put your hand up and ask for help, especially if you sort of have that uncomfortable feeling that you're not sure if you did it right.
Mm-hmm.
Just get a second opinion on it, and that way you can feel clean, and then next year you'll know whether or not you are comfortable to do your own taxes.
Okay. So, and then just a reminder too, if you're doing your own taxes, keep all of your documents. All your receipts, your supporting documents, anything that you use to file your taxes, make sure you're saving those just in case CRA does come back and say, I'm going to audit the taxes that you did. Show me your receipts. Show me your medical receipts. So show me your child care receipts. You need all of those documents, plus your T4s or T5007 from Alberta Works. Any documents that you use when you're filing your taxes, make sure you're keeping them. And Laura,
That actually includes the backup of the software that you used to file your taxes. That should be part of it.
Okay.
And I had somebody last night, a client who I was talking to, who said they thought her and her husband had decided that it wasn't, they might not use all of their childcare receipts. They might not put all of that into play because they didn't want to get audited. But CRA is not doing audits. A lot of what they're doing is a review. A few years back when we did our taxes, we had to include all of our medical receipts attached to the paper return. We had to include our childcare receipts. Now that everything is going electronically, they have thresholds of amounts that they need to see the backup, and they just also pick random people. They do random samplings to make sure that people are claiming what they're allowed to claim. And so if you get a letter in the mail saying, can you please submit your childcare receipts, it doesn't mean you're getting audited. All it means is that they're doing their job, and they're just doing a review to make sure that what the amount you've claimed matches your receipts.
Okay. So just with regards to the last slide before we continue, is there ever a time, if I made a mistake, do I need to contact CRA and let them know right away?
CRAs, I think it's always it's never a bad thing to get in touch with CRA. They might say to you that they've made a note on the file and that they'll wait for your adjustment to come through. The adjustments take longer than the filing. So if you are up to date and you file your 2019, within 3 to 4 weeks, you should have your refund and your notice of assessment. If you owe money, then you should have your notice of assessment sent to you. If you then have to file an adjustment, they do take longer to process that. So if you're feeling uncomfortable with it, you want to call in and let CRA know. You can actually ask them to hold off. If you made a mistake and that you have a refund coming, but you need to file an adjustment, you can ask them to hold your refund so that you don't end up owing penalties and interest on that money.
Awesome. So I guess really to wrap it up is, if you want help, having someone do your taxes can make it a lot easier for you. But if you're choosing to do your own taxes, we can still help you depending on what the issue is, and have a look at them. Or not we, but a tax professional could have a look at them. Yeah?
Or, as well as CRA. I know it's a change in how we think, but CRA is really there to give us a hand and make sure we're doing this right.
Okay, next. So this is just a recap, something I've shown every time we've done a webinar. This is an updated version of who is filing taxes for low-income people within the Calgary area. You can also find this on this sunriselink.org website. Go ahead.
Now, one thing, Darlene, that we haven't talked about, just as the poll is getting up and running here. So you should see a poll jump on your screen here. We would love for you to fill out this information. It helps both Sunrise and Momentum make sure that we're giving you the information that you want. But one of the things that oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Okay.
The one thing we didn't talk about is that while the deadline and I was just reading up about this last night, the deadline for taxes is June 1st. CRA is not going to implement any failure to file penalties or penalties and interest until September 1. So if you were sitting at home and you realize that there's only a few days left until this deadline comes up, that has absolutely a soft deadline. They're encouraging all Canadians to get their taxes done by these deadlines, but truthfully, if you are in line to get your taxes done and you've watched this webinar and you're thinking, I'm just not comfortable to do it my own, you can still comfortably wait for a volunteer to help you get the taxes done. There will be no penalties and interest this year until September 1st. They will not withhold any GST or child tax benefits, and no penalties and interest, which is absolutely a beautiful gift from the government so that people have time to still get this done.
Okay, so we have some questions coming up here. And I know we're running out of time, so Jody's gonna probably let us know that pretty quick. One person says, I forgot to say I sold my house, and it was last May. So Laurel, do you want to answer that one?
I would absolutely contact a tax preparer and ask them to help you file an adjustment. CRA is very lenient when you are the one that when you were approaching them. So I would get some help. That form is not that straightforward. So I would absolutely get some help and ask someone to help you file that and to file an amendment. If you haven't filed or you've made a mistake, there are forms that tax professionals can help you fill out and explain why the mistake was made. So I would just get some help on that one and absolutely declare it before they do their record matching.
Okay. So another one here, I'm confused about the rules here in Canada, such as your SIN number is confidential, your income tax. On the other hand, when I file my tax, I should put my husband's or common law SIN or even know how much he made yearly. Some couples do small companies and put his wife's name on it, and she doesn't know anything. So I'm going to let you answer that, Laurel. I think kind of what she's saying is because people are filing as a married couple, they have to file together.
That is an absolutely brilliant question. Yes, your social insurance number, you need to keep it confidential. What that means is if CRA calls you and says, please provide your social insurance number, do not give it out. When you are working with a tax preparer and you have vetted them to make sure that they are a reputable tax preparer, then you need to provide your social insurance number. When you start a job, the rules are you have to provide your social insurance number. When it comes to taxes, there are some credits available that say if you make under a certain amount and you are married or you are a single parent, you are going to get more of a tax break. If you do not provide your spouse's income, then the software and your tax preparer are not able to come up with what those credits should be. So if you are doing your taxes separately, you may need to just give them an estimation. But it is the rules in Canada that you have to, that's how it works. Even when you're separated from your spouse and the divorce is not final, you still need to be giving the tax software an estimation of what your spouse's income was. So it may feel like you're getting opposite answers. Keep your social insurance number private, but then you have to disclose it. And that's just simply when you're married, your taxes do affect your spouses.
Okay, so I'm just going to move on. I have somebody here who said I tried to submit and I'm not able. So that might be for a multitude of reasons that we discussed earlier. But some of the reasons can be if you moved since the last time you filed your taxes, and when you're filling out your TurboTax or your net file, and you're putting in your new address, but CRA has your old address, it's not going to let you file. If there's information that they have on account for you and you're inputting that information differently in your net file, it's not going to allow you to file.
Even something as simple as having your birth date, or possibly last year you used a middle initial and this year you're not, could stop it from from allowing it. But there should be a button that allows you to validate, and you should get a piece of information that tells you what's stopping you. And if you fix it, then you should be able to refile it or to file it at that time.
So Laurel, here's a question for you. So if they filed, they can actually print out their file. They can print out their tax form that they have completed, if they believe everything to be correct, and mail it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On that website that I was researching at 11:30 last night, they are actually asking people to use NetFile and eFile as often as possible.
Mhm.
But if you are doing a return from 2015, you can still use the software that Darlene researched. And then you would just print it off, and you have to find where you sign.
Mhm.
And on the paper copies, you do have to submit your receipts with it. So it's a little bit more work, but if you just are more comfortable that way, or it is 2015 and before, absolutely print it off, sign it, and mail it in.
Yeah. And
if you are mailing something in CRA though, make sure you keep a copy of those receipts for yourself.
Yeah. And there's 3 places to sign on those, so make sure you find all 3. So we have one more question, and then I'm saving this one for last because it just kind of sums up what we're talking about. But they said they filed their income tax on April 16th, but still, now this is the same person that was talking about the sale of their home. So this might be why there is a holdup on her taxes. I filed the income tax from April 16th until now, and I didn't get an answer.
So normally and there's actually, you can Google CRA processing times, and you just answer a few questions and they will tell you right now CRA is sitting at a three-week wait. So if you e-file, they're saying 3 weeks. But Canada Post right now is having a slowdown as well. So I know I sent something to Kitchener and it took 3 weeks for the mail to get to Kitchener. Normally it's there within the same week. So I wouldn't panic. If you're feeling uncomfortable, I wouldn't call in this week, but next week you can call CRA and ask them if they've received your file, and they can look it up online and they will tell you if it's been received or if it's pending. If CRA wants to look at it a little bit more in depth, it might take a little bit longer. And it's again, nothing to be concerned with. Some years they look at things a little bit closer than other years. Some years they look at groups of people. One year, all of the waitresses and waiters in Charlottetown and Prince Edward Island got reviewed. Another year, naturopaths seem to be being looked at a little bit closer. So CRA is just doing their job, but if you are concerned and you want to make sure that they received it, you can call in. Again, that number was 1-800-959-8281. And right now the wait times are probably 1.5 to 2 hours, but I expect as of June 2nd that we're going to see those wait times reduced drastically. This week they're open from 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 9 p.m. Mountain Time, as long as you have an Alberta phone number. So you might have a better luck calling sort of after supper time, because not as many people are aware that CRA is open 12 hours a day this week.
Okay. And just a reminder too, you need to phone according to your birth month. So if your birthday is January, February, or March, you phone on Monday.
I'm not sure that would count for this week with the last.
Okay.
I've called in a few times and we've not been denied, especially with the last week of taxes.
Okay. Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, I think that they were really working on that for the CREB, but I think right now, if you have a question and you manage to get through, they're going to answer your question.
Okay. So one really quick last question, because I'm guessing we're pushing our luck here. We have one more minute because I think it's important. The question says, or the comment is, my husband is a non-Canadian and not a permanent resident. Do I still need to report his income while doing my own tax return? He has never been to Canada before.
That is a situation where I would absolutely say you need to call into CRA and get some additional information. It's not something that I would feel comfortable answering without doing a little bit of research myself.
Yeah, that one I might recommend going to a professional tax filer.
There's worldwide income. Canada, the CRA has an agreement with lots of countries where they actually compare who has made what in different countries. So if you have worked in a different country, you need to absolutely consider that part of what you need to declare as income in Canada, because they are comparing it, and computers are making it easier every year. So I'm a rules girl, so I just think it's much more comfortable to just follow those rules.
So I saved this one for last because it was a comment, and I think it's just a perfect end to our webinar today. And the comment was, so what you're saying now is don't panic if we forget and make mistakes. And I think that's what's exactly where we're saying is don't panic. Just make sure you follow through and get help in solving it.
And stay in communication.
Stay in communication.
And being in communication, I'd just like to do a huge shout out to Jody and Hiroko and Momentum for hosting us, not just today, but for the last 4 weeks. I think Darlene and I are very blessed to have this platform to talk about something we're obviously both extremely passionate about. So thank you so much for hosting us and letting the Sunrise team be part of this.
Oh, you're welcome. And we are so grateful. And I'm sorry my internet went funny again. I'm not sure what that was, but thank you for taking over and just finishing the webinar for everybody to get to experience. We're really looking forward to, we're doing another one with you guys at the end of June. So stay tuned, everybody. And just as a reminder, we do have our regular money talks. So next Tuesday, we have a great guest coming in, Nicole Olson, and she's going to talk about debt management. Is it ever too late to address? And that's really, really important. So we invite you to register here at this link. Unless you are already registered, then we look forward to seeing you. Again, thank you, ladies, so much. It's been such a blessing to get to work with you and share all this information. And we look forward to partnering again in the future. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.